so guys, here's what I want you guys to keep in mind when you get home, because it's not always going to be easy, but I always want you to remember who you are. Remember what you believe in. Remember what you know to be true. Remember what you stand for. Because listen, medicine is an allopathic profession, right? So their job is to treat symptoms or treat diseases, treat effects, right? If you have an Apple computer, I looked up, I don't know if PCs have this or not, but Apples have those widgets. If you guys have an Apple and you have that dictionary widget, if you put allopathic into that dictionary widget, what it says as a definition, it says allopathy. Someone? Allopathy? Yeah, so if you put allopathic in there, it'll spit up the other word for you. But what it says it says the treatment of disease by conventional methods. So typical, normal, standard methods. That's the treatment of disease by those conventional methods. And it says, i.e., or for example, with drugs to have the reverse effects of symptoms. Drugs with the opposite effects of symptoms. Which, by the way, if I was an MD, I'd be pissed if that's the way I was, they define my profession. I'll tell you guys why in a second. But that's how they look at, that's what allopathy is, right? That was pretty good. So allopathic, that's what that is. That's what they do. You guys, chiropractors, what we do is we look for cause. That's what we do. We look for cause, with there fundamentally being primary or only one underlying cause for all sickness and disease, and that being an interference to the body's innate or natural ability to be well, right? And so when you interfere with the body's natural physiology and you change this body, that's where sickness and disease comes from. But that's what we do. It might be easier and might be more accepted to try to treat someone's symptoms or try to help someone with their headaches or help them with their diabetes or help them with whatever symptom they're going through. That might be better accepted. But what we do is we look for cause. That's us. And so I've even seen, like, Maximize Living has a Facebook thing where we can, where people who are in ML can actually just kind of ask each other questions, give each other feedback on things, maybe share ideas. And it's a pretty neat area for those of you guys who have checked that out. But something I see on there on somewhat of a regular basis is I'll see someone ask a question. It'll say, like, hey, I've got a patient who came in with, such and such a problem. How should I take care of this person? I've got a person who came in with this issue. What should I do to deal with that? Do you guys know where that is? That's an allopathic mindset, right? We look for cause. I had a patient who came in maybe about 2 months ago. And this guy, when he came in, he told us he had gout, right? So we do our exam, we do our x-rays, we do our thing, doc's report, we start working on subluxations. We want to get him to start eating right, so we got him on the advanced plan. We wanted to get all the toxins out of his body, all the junk, to make up some of the mistakes he made his whole life, so we put him on the detox, got him to our Max T3 workshop, got him exercising, and a few weeks into his care, every now and then he keeps sharing, like when he comes in to get adjusted, he keeps talking about some things he's feeling, and every time he says something about what he's going through, in my mind I'm going, man, that doesn't sound like gout. I'm like, what the heck do I know? It's been 20 years since I've been in school. Face down, right? So get him adjusted, and this keeps going on, and finally, 2 weeks ago, his wife comes in, and she's like, by the way, my husband went to his MD for his yearly physical, and he doesn't have gout. And I'm thinking, I knew it! But he doesn't have gout. It turns out he has diabetes. His blood sugar's through the roof. She goes, so what should we do now? Should we change anything? I said, well, we need to get him adjusted and take care of his subluxations. I want to make sure he's eating the right healthy food, so let's get him on keep him on the advanced plan. Let's get that junk out of his body from all the mistakes he's made over the years, so let's keep him on that daily detox and make sure he's still doing his Max T3 workouts. Because if there's only one cause to all sickness and disease, how many cures are there? There's one. We look for cause and we remove that interference. You guys get that? And there's one other thing too. I used the term physiology a moment ago instead of just saying function. When we're talking to our patients, we can talk to them and use the word function, like, hey, we want to make sure your body is functioning correctly. Function is a nice, simple word. It's the way I would talk to my patients as well. But I think for a lot of you, I see this hurting you in this way, is that the word function is oversimplifying it a bit. And again, good for the patient, but I see a lot of you guys losing certainty in what you know because of this oversimplification. I like to think of it for myself in terms of physiology, because physiology is the scientific study of exactly how this body works, right? So again, when you look at a normal, healthy spine, a normal spine is straight from the front and curved from the side. That's not a chiropractic thing. That comes right out of a textbook. You guys get that? And if you look in your physiology book and you look in your medical doctor's physiology book, what you will find is that the central nervous system controls how and coordinates how every other cell, tissue, organ, and system in the body works. That's physiology. That's science. And if you look in your science books, you'll find something called Wolff's Law. And Wolff's Law, which is an inarguable law by any doctor of any kind, what it does, it tells you exactly why the spinal column, the surrounding tissues, and the nervous system in that area, why those things and how those things deteriorate and decay when a spine is subluxated. And if we flip open our pathology book or our pathophysiology book, what you'll find is that in every single disease in a pathology book, they're always separated into separate phases of disease process. And the first phase of every disease process is an interference to the normal function of that cell, tissue, organ, or system. You guys understand that? That's pathophysiology, the science of pathology. That is factual stuff. And so what happens over time when you look at the other phases of disease process is that if that interference or that change in function or physiology is not made, that tissue, cell, and organ and system will continue to break down until it gives up. It's overwhelmed and cannot do what it needs to do to keep that body alive, and that person ends up having a shortened life expectancy. And so if you're uncomfortable with telling people that subluxation kills, or someone says to you, hey, why do you guys tell people that subluxation kills, or do you tell people that? My feeling is that it's not up to us to decide that. The fact of the matter is that if you open up your science books, it's just a fact, Jack, that subluxations kill. That's physiology. You guys understand that? And you know what? That being the fact, Dr. Bohemia was just saying that we shouldn't apologize about this. Just because a person doesn't know that when they come in to see us that we're talking to, or just because someone might feel bad because they don't have their kids under care, that's not yours to apologize for that. You just share the truth. You just tell them the facts. I've always felt that my wife would be a better chiropractor than me, because if any of you guys are friends with my wife on Facebook, you've seen this stuff from her. My wife's whole life has been about being a mom. Since she was in high school, it's all she ever wanted to do was to be a mom. And she just reads and studies everything about childhood development and raising children. When she went to college, that's what she studied, was early childhood development. It's all she cares about. And she's got certain beliefs and things that she knows that fly kind of counter to what a lot of people would typically think would be the way you would raise your kids. But you know what? My wife never holds back. She doesn't apologize to anybody about it. She has lost friends over it. There's probably plenty of people who have just chosen not to be her friend because of it. We could all learn from my wife in terms of how we'd be a chiropractor. And I'll tell you what, I'll close with this. Last weekend in church, we do, let me see, what we do is hard. It's not that easy to always to share the truth like this. I understand that. It's not always going to be easy. There is going to be rejection. Back to the guy who quit. It is tough. There is work to do. You might have to, lose some battles along the way. But we were in church last week, and there was a lady guest speaker there. Some of you guys might be familiar with her. Her name is Johnny. I don't remember her last name, but she has really like a worldwide ministry for disabled people. I think she has a radio show, Johnny's Friends. You guys heard of her? Okay, yes, that's it. So she's speaking at the church, and she shares this story about a 16-year-old girl who she had mentored. This girl, when she was 16, had something happen to her nervous system that caused her to lose all muscle control, so she was completely paralyzed, and she was slowly losing the ability to even breathe. So she was bedridden, could barely breathe, and was kind of on her way out. And Johnny called this girl, and John, by the way, Johnny has been a quadriplegic for 45 years. She broke her neck 45 years ago and has been in a chair. So here's this quadriplegic calling the 16-year-old girl, and the 16-year-old girl tells her, the doctors want to put me on a respirator to try to keep me alive a little longer, but she says, I don't know if I want to do it. She goes, my life, I just don't necessarily see the sense in going on with this. And so Johnny walks her through this whole process, but there was something she said to her at the end that really kind of hit me. She said, you know what? She said, just because I'm disabled and you have this problem, she goes, God doesn't cut us any slack. And I was like, wow. And she said, you know what? If anything, because we have a lot of people keeping their eye on us and people taking care of us and more people paying attention to us, she said, we're on the front lines. She said, when someone's on the front line of anything, you know what people expect of them? They expect them to be courageous. They expect them to be honorable. They expect them to be faithful. We need to exemplify those things more than anybody else. And you know what? Your job is not always going to be easy, and there will be some rejections, and you might even lose more battles than you win, but God isn't cutting you guys any slack for that. You don't get away with just going the other way because you feel like it. We're definitely on the front line, guys. People pay a lot of attention to everything that we do, right? And so what they expect from us, or what God will expect from us, is to be truthful and honorable and courageous and faithful. Guys, just remember who you are, remember what you believe, and never give up on that and make no apologies. Thank you very much.